As Russia invaded Ukraine, the international community slaps economic sanctions on Russia. Today, we'll look into the concept of economic sanction. Economic sanction. Economic sanctions are commercial and financial penalties applied by one or more countries against a targeted self-governing state or group or even an individual as a sign of protest. After economic sanctions are imposed, the economic relationship between the targeted country and the one imposed will be eliminated. It is commonly used as a diplomatic tool. The known purposes of economic sanctions are world peace, human rights improvement, limiting the expansion of terrorism and nuclear weapons, elimination of military provocations, and resolving trade disputes. The purposes of economic sanctions are world peace, human rights improvement, limiting the expansion of terrorism and nuclear weapons, elimination of military provocations, and resolving trade disputes. Economic sanction is used for special circumstances only, as the sanctions raid severe harms. The U.S. often initiates the targeting of countries for economic sanctions. This is because a quarter of global GDP is accounted for by the U.S., and the dollar is the reserve currency used for international trade and finances. Tools for economic sanction. Trade and financial sanctions are commonly used as economic sanctions. Firstly, there are export and import restrictions under trade sanctions. The export restriction limits export to the sanctioned country, meaning the sanctioned country will not receive the items it needs. Import restriction stops the purchase of items from the sanctioned country. In this way, the sanctioned country won't purchase the resources it needs, as it loses access to attaining foreign currency. The goal of financial sanctions is to decrease the solvency of the sanctioned country. An example of this would be the recent barring of the SWIFT transaction line on Russian banks. SWIFT is an international non-profit corporation that conducts data communications for payment and remittance amongst major banks in different countries. Being barred from SWIFT means not receiving export payments from foreign countries. Thus, it is fatal to the national economy. Other measures include suspending public development aid and freezing assets of sanctioned countries' financial assets. Effects of economic sanction. Economic sanctions are shifting action and policies by causing tremendous economic loss on the sanctioned country. However, there are side effects and harmful effects of economic sanctions. First, sometimes the situation worsens as a side effect of economic sanction. An example of this would be the war between Haiti and Bosnia after economic sanctions. Also, the economic sanctions on North Korea and Iran are analyzed to have strengthened the political system. Lastly, it must be carefully studied before deciding to issue economic sanctions because it harms the majority of the citizens in the sanctioned country.